The black ship did not appear on scanners. It never did. That was the first lie. Every survivor learned the hard way. Yarok Holt knew this, because he had been dying for exactly 17 minutes when the alarms finally screamed. The medical bay lights flickered between sterile white and deep crimson, bathing the steel walls in a pulse that matched the slowing beat of his heart. Blood floated in thin, shimmering ribbons around his torso, each droplet catching the light as if time itself had decided to hesitate. "Seal the breach," someone shouted over the intercom. Too late. Yarok's left arm was gone from the elbow down, cauterized by vacuum and friction, the nerve still screaming even though the limb no longer existed. He was strapped to a grav table that kept him from drifting into the ceiling. The ship, the Valiant Mercy, a humanitarian escort cruiser, shuddered as something vast passed close enough to bend gravity. Not a collision, a shadow. Yarok turned his head with effort, vision tunneling. He had flown convoy routes for 12 years. Pirate ambushes, alien patrols, rogue miners. He had seen every trick space could throw at a man, but this was different. The shadow outside the viewport was wrong. It wasn't solid. It wasn't empty. It was like the absence of intention. A shape that existed only because reality had failed to agree on what should be there instead. Ship without lights. Without markings. Without sound. The black ship. "No," Yarok whispered, though his lips barely moved. "Not here." The intercom crackled again, this time quieter. Controlled. Calm in a way that felt rehearsed. "All hands," Captain Merrow said. "This is a priority transmission. Power down weapons. Do not engage. Do not." The sentence cut off. Not jammed. Stop. The silence that followed pressed harder than vacuum. Even the alarms died, one by one, until only the hum of emergency power remained. Yarok felt it then, not through instruments or sensors, but in his bones. They were being watched. A soft tone chimed inside the medical bay. The door slid open without command. Yarok tried to reach for the side rail, his remaining hand slipping on blood and antiseptic. A figure stepped inside. Human. That alone was wrong. He wore no insignia. No rank, no colors, just matte black fabric that swallowed light. His boots made no sound on the deck. His face was ordinary in the most unsettling way. Early 30s, stubble, tired eyes that had learned how not to react. The man looked at Yarok's missing arm, the blood, the failing vitals scrolling above the grav table. "You're not supposed to see us this early," the man said. Yarok laughed, a wet, broken sound. "Then, you're late." The man almost smiled. Almost. He raised a small device, no bigger than a coin, and pressed it against Yarok's chest. Pain vanished. Not eased. Not dulled. Gone. Jarek gasped as his lungs filled properly for the first time since the breach. The bleeding stopped. The edges of his severed arm sealed into smooth, scarless skin. His heart steadied. "What?" Yarok started. "You're alive," the man said. "Don't make me regret that." Yarok stared at him. "You're with them." "Yes. The black ship kills everyone." "Not everyone," the man replied. "Just most." Outside the viewport, the shadow shifted, unfolding into angles that hurt to follow. The black ship was docking, not with clamps or airlocks, but with reality itself, space folding just enough to allow entry. Yarok swallowed. "Why me?" The man met his eyes at last. "Because you didn't run." "That's not true," Yarok said weakly. "We tried to jump." "You tried," the man agreed. "You didn't beg." He turned toward the door. "Get dressed. You're coming with us." "Where?" The man paused. For the first time, something heavy crossed his expression. Somewhere history pretends doesn't exist. They walked through corridors that no longer belonged to the Valiant Mercy. The walls stretched when they shouldn't. Corners led to places Yarek knew were not on the ship's layout. Bodies floated in the air, crew members frozen in moments of terror, eyes wide, mouths open. Blood suspended like art. None of them were touched. They're alive, Yarek said. Though he didn't know how he knew. For now, the man replied. Time hasn't decided what to do with them yet. A doorway opened into darkness. Then into the black ship. It was bigger inside. Of course it was. The interior was not metallic but organic in a way that made Yarek's skin crawl. Surfaces curved subtly, like bone polished smooth by centuries of use. Light came from nowhere and everywhere. A dim gray glow that cast no shadows. Other figures moved through the space. Humans, aliens. Some walked freely. Others were restrained by bands of energy that bit into flesh without breaking skin. Yarek saw fear, rage, resignation, every emotion he'd ever felt reflected back at him 100 times over. This is a prison, he said. The man corrected him gently. This is a collection. They passed a young alien woman with translucent skin and too many eyes. She pressed her palm against an invisible barrier, whispering in a language that made Yarek's teeth ache. Why take us? Yarek asked. What do you want? The man stopped at last, turning fully to face him. We want survivors, he said. Not heroes. Not saints, survivors. For what? For when everything else fails. They reached an open chamber at the heart of the ship. A massive void hung in the center, filled with shifting symbols and fractured star maps. Yarek felt small standing before it. Like an insect that had accidentally wandered into a god's engine. Room. A voice spoke, not aloud. Inside his head. Yarek Holt. Human. Designation. Convoy pilot. Moral flexibility. Undetermined. Yarek dropped to one knee, gasping as the pressure crushed him. Get out of my head, he shouted. The man knelt beside him, hand steady on Yarek's shoulder. Answer honestly, he murmured. It's the only way this ends with you breathing. The voice continued. You were given a choice at Kepler. Route 7, refugees or cargo. You chose cargo. Yarek clenched his fists. Images flooded back, overloaded engines, screaming transmissions. The weight of command. They would have all died, he said. Everyone. You did not know that. No, Yarek admitted. But I knew if I stopped, my crew would die. Silence. Then acceptable. The pressure eased. Yarek collapsed forward, shaking. The man exhaled slowly. You're in. In what? The man stood, looking up at the vast, impossible heart of the black ship. A war, he said quietly. That hasn't officially started yet. Yarek laughed, hysterical. I'm missing an arm. You'll get used to that. What if I say no? The man's eyes hardened, not cruel, but final. Then time resumes, he said. And you bleed out on a ship no one will ever find. Yarek looked around at the prisoners. The survivors. The monsters. The people who had made choices and lived with them. He swallowed. When do I start? The man nodded once. Welcome aboard, he said. Try not to become someone you can't recognize. Far away, somewhere beyond charts and lies, the black ship slipped back into nothingness, carrying one more secret the universe was not ready to remember. The black ship did not give Yarek Holt time to recover. It never did. The moment the chamber dimmed and the presence in his mind withdrew, the floor beneath his knees hardened, shifting from something almost soft to cold, unyielding surface. The illusion of mercy ended there. Yarek pushed himself upright, his breathing still uneven, his heart hammering like it was trying to escape his ribs. The man in black was already walking away. Hey, Yarek called out. His voice echoed strangely, as if the ship was deciding how much of it deserved to exist. You said welcome aboard. That usually comes with explanations. The man didn't stop. Explanations are earned. That's convenient, Yarek muttered, forcing himself to follow. As they moved deeper into the ship, Yarek became aware of something worse than fear, routine. The corridors were alive with quiet motion. People passed each other with purpose. Some wore the same black light-swallowing uniforms. Others were dressed in scavenged armor. Civilian clothes, or nothing but prison wraps. Stamped with unfamiliar symbols that no one looked surprised to see. Him, that terrified him more than screams would have. They entered a long gallery, overlooking a vast hangar-like space. Below them, ships of impossible design rested in silence, some sleek and angular, others grown rather than built, their hulls resembling bone, coral, or hardened flesh. Species Yarok couldn't name worked side by side, repairing damage, calibrating weapons, loading supplies. "This isn't a prison," Yarok said again, quieter this time. "No," the man agreed. "It's worse." He gestured downward. "This is a last resort." They stopped before a transparent barrier. On the other side, a group of people stood in a loose circle. Humans, mostly humans. Men and women of different ages, some hardened, some terrified, all marked by loss. Missing limbs. Scarred faces. Dead eyes that had seen too much and survived anyway. A woman noticed Yarok and stepped forward. She had close-cropped hair and a burn scar that traced her jawline like a permanent shadow. "New one?" she asked. The man nodded. "Fresh." She studied Yarok with a soldier's efficiency. "How long since extraction?" I don't know," Yarok said. She smirked. "Yeah, that tracks." The barrier dissolved with a sound like exhalation. Yarok hesitated, then stepped through. The air on the other side felt heavier, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. "I'm Rhea," the woman said. "Don't bother with ranks. They don't mean anything here, Yarok." "I know," she replied. "It already knows you." She nodded upward, not at a camera, not at a ceiling, but at the space itself. Yarok shivered. The man in black turned to leave. "Orientation starts in 5 minutes," he said. "Try not to panic. That's your advice?" Yarok snapped. The man paused at the threshold. "No," he said. "That's your warning." Then he was gone. Orientation was not a briefing. It was a demonstration. They were led into a chamber that resembled an amphitheater carved from obsidian. The walls curved inward, etched with faint lines that pulsed like veins. The floor sloped gently toward a central platform where a single figure stood. Not human. Tall. Slender, its body composed of layered crystalline plates that refracted the dim light into fractured rainbows. Its face, or what passed for one, had no eyes. Only a smooth surface that reflected the crowd back at itself. When it spoke, the sound bypassed ears entirely. "You have been selected." A ripple passed through the group. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else swore, "Not for your strength, not for your loyalty, not for your morality." The crystal being turned, its head slightly an approximation of attention. "Were selected because you failed and lived." Images exploded into Yarok's mind, worlds burning, fleets colliding, cities cracking open under orbital fire, species he didn't recognize screaming in languages that tasted like ash. "The universe is breaking." The words carried weight. Not metaphor. Diagnosis. "When it does, heroes will die first. You will not." Rhea crossed her arms. "And what exactly are we supposed to do about it?" The being tilted its head. "Survive. Remember. Act when instructed. That's it." Someone shouted. "You kidnap us, judge us, and expect obedience?" Silence. Then non-compliance is permitted. A platform rose from the floor, carrying a man Yarok recognized instantly. Captain Marrow, the commander of the Valiant Mercy, was bound. Unconscious, his uniform torn and stained with dried blood. Yarok's stomach dropped. "No, subject, Marrow, outcome paths, 3. The air shimmered. 3 projections appeared around the captain. In the first, Marrow was released. He returned to normal space, gave testimony. Warned others. The projection fractured into war. In the second, marrow was erased. No body. No record. The projection showed silence. Ignorance. Delay. In the third, marrow woke up. Here. Joined them. The projection showed something worse than death. Choose, the being said. The crowd stirred. Voices rose. We can't. This isn't right. Why us? The being waited. Rhea looked at Yarek. This is where you find out who you are. Yarek's mind raced. Marrow was a good man. An honest one. If he went back, he'd try to stop this, whatever this was. If he disappeared, people would wonder. Search. If he joined. Yarek saw the truth then. The ship didn't recruit soldiers. It curated consequences. Erase him. Yarek said hoarsely. The words tasted like poison. The being turned toward him. Rationale. Because. Yarek said, forcing himself to meet the smooth, reflective face. The truth at the wrong time kills more people than a lie. The projections collapsed. Marrow vanished. Not in light. Not in sound. Just gone. Several people stared at Yarek like he had just murdered a god. Rhea nodded slowly. Yeah, she said. You'll fit in. Later, though time meant very little here, Yarek sat alone in a narrow compartment assigned to him. A bed formed from the wall at a thought he didn't remember having. A panel glowed softly, offering food synthesized from memories he didn't know the ship had accessed. He didn't eat. He stared at his left arm. Where it should have ended in absence. There was now something else. Not flesh. A lattice of dark material shimmered beneath a translucent skin-like surface. When he flexed his fingers, the arm responded perfectly, stronger, faster than before. A knock came at the threshold. Rhea leaned in. You should eat. I erased my captain, Yarek said. She shrugged. You saved a few million strangers. Welcome to the math. You don't feel anything? She stepped inside, her expression hardening. I feel everything. That's why I'm still useful. She nodded at his arm. First gift? Is that what this is? No, she said. It's a leash. She turned to leave, then paused. Get some rest. Tomorrow you deploy. Deploy where? Rhea looked back at him, eyes cold and honest. Somewhere you'll wish you hadn't survived. The door closed. Yarek lay back on the bed, staring up at a ceiling that wasn't really there. The black ship moved silently through impossible distances, carrying secrets, monsters, and broken people who had made the wrong choices for the right reasons. And somewhere deep within its living core, something ancient and patient adjusted its calculations. Yarek halted past the first test. Many more were waiting, and the universe, slowly cracking apart, did not care how much it would cost him to keep breathing.